You brought up that Department of Justice statement. I saw James Lindsay and Joe Rogan talking about it. It was kind of convoluted in like 2 paragraphs. Have you seen that, Tim? Do you know what she's talking about?
The Department of Justice? Let me pull it up. Because I know
what was that pertaining to?
It's like a statement defining who now is considered dangerous.
Oh, yeah. And they said like anti-capitalists. And then, I think Glenn Greenwald tweeted out, because it's actually a while ago. Yeah. And so they were like, hey, left, you've all cheered for this and celebrated. It's you. And then they posted the list, and it was like anarchist and anti-capitalist, are considered violent, dangerous extremists. And then there's like patriots or whatever. So it's like, yo, look, man. They may like the fact that they can use Antifa as useful idiots to wreak havoc and cause panic and destroy things, and they can rebuild. But rest assured, they will come for Antifa when it becomes convenient for them, or when Antifa is truly inconvenient,
or when they're done with them, when they fulfill their agenda, when they got rid of everything else. They're going to be looking like the nail for the hammer that they created. It's only a matter of time, and the deep intelligence state has the information, is track tracing and databasing all of these people. We learned that they even have drones that they're flying over protests. They have dragnet surveillance, telephone technology that literally gets all the information from people's phones at protests. They have all of their data. They have all of their information. They have all of their networks. And why wouldn't they be collecting it when, of course, you have the state that throughout history has been doing really bad things?
Yeah, so it was a testimony before the Senate, and it was, I think, Matthew Olson, who is the assistant attorney general, perhaps. He said domestic violent extremists are often motivated by ideology and personal grievances. We've seen a growing threat from those who are motivated by racial animus, as well as those who ascribe to anti-government, anti-authority ideologies.
So this
anti-authority.
is so...
Anti-authority,
Yep.
which is kind of the basis for the entire United States.
That's right.
Yes. We are anti-authority. That's like half our deal, at least.
Weren't the Ghostbusters anti-authority too?
Yeah, for sure.
But is Antifa pro-authority? I mean, I would say yes.
Yeah.
But do they think they are? So are they listening to that going like,
and he
hey,
also
we're cool?
said today investigating and prosecuting domestic violent extremists is one of our top priorities on the front lines.
This is only because there aren't enough white nationalists and white supremacists. They have to cast.
They got a short supply, sadly.
Yeah, it has to be like it has to be. Yeah, it has to be everything. It has to be whatever they can find.
They
This
have
is
a
like
budget for arresting dissent. That are going to need
That's
some
right.
dissent.
They gotta beat the budget.
At some point in there, they said like if you want to criticize the government, it may not be considered terrorism because it's considered First Amendment protection. The word may. It may not be considered terrorism.
That's
That was
nice.
very confusing.
My friends, in 20 years, everyone's going to be like 4.5 feet tall, androgynous, holding hands with squeaky voices, and that's going to be humanity because like they're just shaving off the tall grass.
Jeez.
Everyone, it's like it's eroding so quickly. You know, the people don't realize this, but there's been several cases that I've tweeted about, talked about, where people have been charged with hate crimes for speech or for like bordering on speech. You know, there was one case where someone took a pride flag and then I guess they like burned it and threw it in front of a gay bar and they said, oh, that was hateful harassment or something like that. And it's like no one was there, no one watched it happen, nobody was directly harmed by it. It's kind of a dick move in my opinion, but the guy got charged with a hate crime for doing it. I'm like, that's kind of crazy, you know what I mean? But that's where we're moving, and we're getting. There was two people were on what were they on like the New York train, the Long Island Railroad, and they were shouting things about foreigners, and then threw a beer can at someone, and they went aha, throwing that beer can and saying that. Now it's a hate crime, and like you get a very serious charge for that. So they're starting to incorporate hate speech into making it illegal. And a lot of people 10 years ago were saying that, the goal of the left is to make it so hate speech would be completely illegal. There are many proponents who have pushed saying that it should be illegal. And now we're seeing aggravated charges on people for, speaking things that are offensive.
Yeah, and it's already,
it has to be associated with a crime, though, in the U.S., whereas in other countries, like in Canada,
What was the crime of throwing a rainbow flag in front of a bar?
Well, they have to call it a crime of some sort.
Right, but like
arson,
burning
Maybe it's
property.
arson?
But it was their property. It was someone bought a flag, burned it, and threw it in front of a building, and they said it was like harassment. So they make up the crime to fit how they can turn it into hate speech or something.
And what's happening in Canada and the UK already with these existing laws is so worrying. I remember walking around in the United Kingdom doing interviews about English people not having the First Amendment. Would they want the First Amendment? And I ran into a person who had his whole life ruined, was thrown in jail, had to face court proceedings because he called someone a bloke. Right? And this person that he called a bloke was someone that identified as something else, but because he did it offhandedly, He literally was sent to jail.
Shout out
that's
to
happened
Zuby.
to a bunch of people.
Shout out to Zuby, who said, "Okay, dude." It was
Yep.
"Okay, dude," right? That's what he said, and he got suspended on Twitter for saying it.
Yep.
Well,
What?
or Megan Murphy, who said
Oh,
that
yeah.
Jessica Yaniv was him. You know,
Yeah.
I think she got banned for saying "yeah, him." That was her whole tweet.
Shout out to Zuby for getting his visa, American
Yes.
visa.
Yeah.
He's going to be around a lot more now.
Oh, sweet.
Stoked.
Nice job, dude. Sorry
I missed
to
the
derail the conversation
No,
to
no.
something
Now you
gotta
positive
finish
there for a second. Or is
I
it-
missed the ACLU 1.0. That's what we need.
Right?
Yeah.
I missed that too.
What happened? Did change of
Oh,
leadership?
I can tell you what happened. So
yeah.
when Donald Trump got elected, they made a ton of money off of the Muslim ban, as it was called. Now, it included Venezuela, and some other countries, but, the left called the Muslim ban. And the ACLU said, Trump, you can't do this. It's unconstitutional. The interesting thing was that the banning of travel from these countries actually advice from the Obama administration, but that doesn't matter. So everybody protests. The ACLU announces they're filing a lawsuit to stop this. And then all the leftists are like, yeah, and they sign up for the ACLU. And the ACLU is like, we're making bank, baby. And then Charlottesville happened. And the ACLU defended the right to organize. And then everyone said, you made this happen. You defended it. And they were like, but we've always defended free speech for everyone. And the left started canceling in droves. So they came out and said, we're going to reassess what free speech means. And now the ACLU is the Anti-Civil Liberties Union because in many, many cases, they have come out overtly against civil rights. And I'm not
They
exaggerating.
sure have over
It's
and over again.
crazy.
Yeah, I was
Well,
tracking
didn't they
Hey,
it.
complain
money
this week
talks,
about
baby.
there was some sort of transparency educational policy that was
Oh,
discussed?
this is a great idea. This transparency and
right,
education.
and they're
thing.
against it. ACLU is against
but
it.
here's the thing about this. So education is now a national issue. That's what the left wanted this whole time.
They got it.
Parents are super involved in kids' educations. That's what the left has wanted this whole time. Parents are saying, let's have transparency. Let's see what the syllabus is. That's all it is. Let's see what the syllabus is before the year starts. That way we know what's going on. That way we can help our kids. We can know what's happening in their classroom. We can know what they're learning. And for some reason, the teachers' unions are all against this. They've been demanding for decades, parents, we need more parental involvement. And now parents are like, hi, we're here. We'd really like to be involved. And they're all just like, you know what? Back off.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just not safe for your kids. It's just not okay. Parents do not have a right to be involved.
And
in
we
this.
all know why.
Leftists
yeah.
don't have kids. They have yours.
Right. Like what is it, Melissa Harris Perry? Did you guys see that?
That was an older clip that resurfaced, I think, but
I'm
it
not
still
sure.
was chilling.
It's
What was
crazy.
it?
She was saying basically the kids are not yours. What's
Yeah,
the
she was
exact?
saying kids are not yours; they belong to all of us, and we need to stop thinking that kids belong to
It's
their
like-
parents.
you ever see that
and it's
communist
like,
meme?
who kids belong to their parents, especially when they get hurt or any decisions need to be made. But
have you ever
as soon
seen
as
that-
they need to be indoctrinated, then they belong to everybody.
You ever seen that meme where it's like it's the Drake meme where it's my and our and so it shows him like going like that and it'll say like my car and then under it says our car and he's like yeah and so it's like my kids no our kids all right.
Yeah. Takes a village.
I love my favorite one was Our Little Pony. And like they put a sickle and hammer next to it and everything. Yo, these people I don't know if communist is the right word.
No,
Because
it's not.
Look, what people need to understand about fascism and communism is that these were ideologies of the early 1900s. We're in a new digital information age, and what we're experiencing is something different. Maybe you can call it techno-communism or techno-authoritarianism or something, but it needs a new word.
Yeah, this is another thing James and Joe were talking about, and I promise I'm not going to keep bringing it up. But watch that episode if you haven't seen it
Great
yet.
episode, yeah.
About, I just got distracted.
Techno-authoritarianism.
About how it's like fascism and communism blended, and it's 21st century. It's new. What Klaus Schwab's trying to do with blending corporations and governments together is basically the definition of Mussolini's fascism. That's what he called it. But it's so different now that they can spy on everything and like cut off bank accounts globally that it's another kind of
It's not necessarily communism. It's not necessarily fascism. It is authoritarian. But the thing about fascism is that it was cultural enforcement. Communism was they just took over and they'd point guns at you. It was much more authoritarian and they would steal food and it was just like the whole system was one thing. With fascism, basically, I was reading this article about how the Nazis weren't really socialists, but kind of were, because people often say, oh, it means National Socialist. What would happen is that they would go to a factory and say, are you producing for the war effort? And if the guy at the factory said, no, we're producing for demand, they'd be like, why do you oppose our efforts? And they'd be like, no, we'll do it. Basically cancel culture. The idea that if you didn't fall in line with cultural enforcement, and cultural enforcement is more powerful than government. So that's the thing about, the fascistic method. Now, I guess back then, there was a big dividing ideology. The communists wanted to erase culture. They wanted to purge it and wipe it clean. And the fascists want traditionalism. So what we're seeing today is technoauthoritarian communism, or whatever you'd call it. I don't know.
It all boils down to the evils of centralization and the idea that you could control people from top down. That idea, I think, is one of the most destructive ideas throughout all of human history. And whatever you label it, whatever you call it, it goes against the basic principles of free humanity. And that, of course, is liberty and decentralization. Decentralization right now, if you look at a lot of problems in this world, could solve all of them in an extensive way that would reduce a lot of harm and help a lot of people out, because it would stop the bastardization of power that absolutely corrupts individuals. So I think that's one way that we should start framing it and looking at it, because, to have this larger idea that one person, one king should control your life and your existence has already fallen by the wayside. Now, another idea that hopefully progressively is going to be destroyed is that a president or an autocrat or a corporate head is going to be controlling your life. And I think the more we move away from those ideas, the more we move towards freedom, the more humans will prosper and grow.
I got it. Hear me out. What if you run for president, and when you win, you get 4 years, you can run again for a second term, and if you lose, or you complete a second term, we execute you.
Oh. Interesting.
So then
It's like
anybody,
a Logan's Run sequel.
but that means anybody who
without a
wants to
net.
be president knows that they're not going to actually be benefited in the long term. That this is
love
the
it.
end.
I love
You've
it.
decided, because then you get someone who's in their 60s and they're like, I've lived a long life, I have some ideas, and I think this is the end for me. I'm going to do a bunch of things that I think will make everything better for you, and then I'm out.
This is like a Star
I'm
Trek
actually
episode.
kidding. I don't really think we should execute
That's a good
It's
people.
like a Star Trek
as a-
episode where the guy who played Winchester on MASH ends up falling in love with Deanna Troy's mom. Do you remember that one?
That's right. And then
Yeah.
it's a society where at a certain age they just kill
They
you.
just kill you. Yeah. They have a big party.
Or just like take all their money away. When you get out of the White House, you're broke.
You're
Yes,
broke.
again.
Yeah,
can't make any money.
maybe what we do is, as soon as you leave any public office, we'll do term limits. So every office will have like a year base. So like in Congress, it's 2 years. So okay, you can run 4 times. The Senate, you can run twice. It's still kind of long. You'll get 12 years. And then the presidency is 2. And once you're done, you lose all your possessions. You get a white jumpsuit and you go to the island.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just live in a community of people who are past civic leaders, and you can never leave, and you've chosen it.
The problem with having 4 2-year term limits is that they'll spend every year running for the next term and waste all that time.
Right. It's like
No, but if you
Congress.
lose, you go to the island.
And
So
on
if you
that
get-
island, Jimmy Carter builds all the houses. So
That's
it's
right.
nice.
No. So Ian, listen. If you run for Congress and win, you're in for 2 years, and then you're like, I'm going to run again, and then you lose, to the island.
But I mean, I don't want them to spend any time while they're in office worrying about a re-election. I want them to be in, run their term, and then be gone.
So two terms.
Like one
no matter what.
8-year term. Is that too much years to give
Oh, that's a
somebody?
good point.
That's a good amount. 8
One
years.
4-year term.
Or maybe
And
2
then-
4-year terms, one
That's what we
re-election.
kind of
Maybe.
have.
But they'll spend 2 years prepping their re-election.
No, but Congress is 2 years.
Congress
so
is 2
giving
years,
Congress
yeah.
4 years and 2 terms, and then once you're done, the island.
You know what I want to point out about?
And there's internet there, so you can play Fortnite, and the kids can talk about
Another
the
about
island.
the
possibility
island
is
idea.
to elect our pets to be politicians,
Yes.
and,
Oh, yeah.
and I bet
I
they would
nominate
probably
them.
do a better job than all the politicians
I
right
think
now.
Caligula
Stay.
did that with his
Stay.
horse, didn't
Good
he?
boy.
Yes, there you go.
Caligula,
And then
one of the
there's-
crazy Roman emperors,
right, of
inbred
course.
young gentleman, made his horse a counselor, I believe.
And there's a small town, I
To
believe,
mock
in
the
Alaska
system.
that elected a cat to be their mayor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
when I was thinking about how the Nazis would go to these corporations and be like, "Are you with us?" and then they're like, "No," and then like, "Then you're against us." There's the nuance in society, I think, that's been lost or overlooked lately, that you don't have to be for or against something. You can be neutral, and that's usually you are. 99.999% of the time, people are neutral to the environment. It's only you don't have to take a side and live like that. Make sure you live like that. Don't need to polarize.
So I tweeted a joke about capitalism today. I said capitalism was too successful. We have fat homeless people. Now, but so there's several different layers to this joke, and I felt like it would play well with everyone. For people who are pro-capitalist, they'd be like, "Wow, even our homeless people are eating too much." For the communists and the left, they're supposed to be like people who eat too much still don't have homes. Like it's supposed to play both ways, but it's only the left who gets mad about it. The right just laughs and they're like, whatever. And the left is like offended. And I tweeted, it's what I call Bugs Bunnying, where you can make a statement that should be something they'll support, but they'll criticize, so you can prove that they're principally bankrupt. They don't actually believe what they believe. They don't actually care about these things. They just want to hate another group. And I think that proves it. I've made several statements, like I think the Carhartt one, when the Carhartt boycott happened, I said, here's something. If you don't want to get vaccinated, you work at Carhartt, quit. And I got criticized by the left for saying that. And I'm like, shouldn't you agree with me on that? And actually, a lot of people tweeted, they were like, but, why are you criticizing him? He's right. Just quit then if you don't want to work there. Yeah, well, it's because it's not about principles. It's about being part of a tribe that hates another tribe. Their identity is based on hate. That's it. And there's people on the right who are like that for sure. But it seems to be the rule on the left.
Well, you're in like you said, Twitter. I think the other day, 2% of Americans are on Twitter, and you're
active on Twitter,
and you're like in it. So you're looking at these crazy minority, and it's like,
oh,
loud.
Absolutely,
it's got to be loud for you. Looking at
and what
so
the
much.
algorithms want you to see. Someone left a very good comment saying that the politicians usually do go to an island after they become politicians, and that of course is Epstein's island. But
Clever.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.